Call that was one of my million-dollar babies. You didn't record it. Just kidding. Was one of my million-dollar babies here who loves being on these calls. You'll probably see her if you stick around long enough. But my name is Marlena Smith. As Miss Mariah said, I will be co-hosting tonight with my sister, Miss Gabriela Encinas, who is going to start us off tonight. But we are both very passionate about this plan. We have million-dollar babies of our own. When we learned about this plan, we were super excited to get it started for all of our children. And we hope that you get a lot of value from tonight's information. Be ready with pen and paper to take notes. And, we are going to share what the million-dollar baby plan is, but we're going to start first with some financial realities, right? And we as parents have to understand what's going on. We are responsible for our children and guiding them the right way. So Miss Gabriela Encinas is going to start us off with some information. Sometimes it might be a little bit shocking to see, right? But we need to know where we're starting so we can understand where we're going. So tonight, please, everybody, um, give a round of applause, a Zoom round of applause for Miss Gabriela Encinas.
And thank you, Marlena, and thank you, Miss Mariah. I got the VIP introduction.
That's right.
I love the million dollar baby to kick it off with the million dollar baby. So yes, we're here to introduce you to the Million Dollar Baby Plan. It's one of our favorite presentations because as you noticed, Marlena has her million dollar baby there, and I myself have opened up this plan for both of my children, Christopher, who's 12, and Isabella, who's 14. And the goal was to build this plan so that way we can help secure their financial future for the many years to come. And as Marlena mentioned, before we dive into the plan itself, we do want to introduce you to some real financial realities that many families in this country are facing today. And they're going to be quite eye openers. So let me go ahead and share those with you. As you can see here, currently 60 to 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That means that even people with good jobs and a steady income, they're struggling just to keep up. And in most cases, it's not because, they're careless with their money, but it's because life is expensive. It truly is. Right now, the economy, how much are we paying for gas? Over $5, some places even hitting $6. And so we are struggling. Another eye opener that you see here is that 47% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency without borrowing it from someone or even putting it on a credit card. Now think about that. Just one flat tire or, a medical bill. My kids are in sports and I constantly see every tournament that they go to, there's some child that's getting injured on the court. Unexpected medical bills also will impact you, okay? In an emergency, a lot of people aren't set up properly to cover that. Now, the average American household, they carry over $104,000 in debt. I have worked with couples that make decent money, but to them, it feels like, that it just goes right back out. There's no breathing room. And that's the story of many families. I personally have been there in that situation. Earning more doesn't always mean keeping more. So that's the average household, okay? But what about our younger generation, our students? The average college graduate leaves school with about $37,853
$853
in
in
student loan
student.
debt. Is there an echo? I think there was a.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Okay. So sorry, it distracted me a little bit. I just want to make sure everyone was okay. So yeah, so they're when they're starting off their first career, building that future, they're coming into that profession, their first job, realizing that hundreds of dollars already spoken to because of this debt that they're leaving college with. So from every paycheck, some of that $100 is already spoken for. That kind of financial weight delays home ownership, it delays investments, and it also even delays starting families. Now, the next one here on the list is retirement. Okay, our older adults, those that are in the retirement age, those in the retirement age are actually facing a retirement gap. The average Social Security benefit for retirees this year is just $1,976 per month. That's less than $24,000 a year. Can you imagine? You have worked for 40 years only to retire on that amount. Between some people even retire, they haven't finished paying their mortgage. So between their mortgage or rent, groceries, medical expenses, it's hard to see how that could even help keep up with inflation. And even for those who have saved, okay, they're not always in the greatest shape. The next statistic that you see here is that the average 401k or 403b balance at age 60 is about $240,000. So if you follow the guideline of the 4% withdrawal rule, technically it's probably more like 3.74%. That provides you with less than 10,000 addition, okay, per year. So between Social Security and your actual retirement savings, if you did build a retirement savings, many retirees are looking at just under $35,000 a year, and that's before taxes. Now, another key reason that people struggle, okay, and fall behind in preparing properly for retirement is that the average person changes careers every 4 years. And even more often, if you're among those under the age of 35. Every time that they're switching a job, many don't transfer or continue the retirement accounts that they initially started. Some end up cashing them out because, they think it's a small amount, it's not a big deal. But that a small amount could have doubled or tripled by their retirement age. These patterns, the constant career changes, the lack of financial education, and the short-term focus, they create a ripple effect that leads to financial insecurity later in life. So we're here to change the story, okay? We want to change the story for our children. And this is why Marlena, myself, Monica, I see a couple of people that we have worked with, some of my business partners on the Zoom today. They see the value. I hope all of you that are here that were invited by guests, you really truly see the value, okay? Because it's statistics like these, they're not numbers, they're real people, real families, and these are real futures. And that is why, I'm so inspired to share this plan, the $1 Million Baby Plan. It's a simple, powerful way to start building wealth early. It's the same plan, again, that I started for my children. My parents have started it for some of their grandchildren because we want to rewrite the story. I don't want my children to be living paycheck to paycheck. I don't want them to call me for an emergency. I mean, they're always welcome to call me for an emergency, right? When they get older. But it's like, I want to teach them the fundamentals. Let's go ahead and take care of your own emergencies. But also start building a tax advantage retirement or just a retirement in general. Okay? It's really time to break these generational curses and start building generational wealth. One family at a time, okay? One decision at a time, one plan at a time, and this is the plan. So before we go into how the plan works, I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick video. So put your volume up and enjoy this.
A pretty money-savvy guy once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." So you're ready to start saving for your kids' future. You already understand the power of compound interest over time, so you know the sooner you start, the better. So where should you be saving that money? Let's talk about perhaps the most powerful and least known savings vehicle for kids on the market, Indexed Universal Life, or IUL. IUL stands out against all other savings vehicles in one main area of strength: flexibility. Other financial vehicles lock you into what you can use your savings on, but an IUL can be a first car, a college education, a down payment on a house, a wedding. IUL cash value can be used however, whenever, and on whatever you choose. Plus, since it's built on a financial chassis of life insurance, your child is instantly covered with hundreds of thousands of dollars of permanent life insurance with living benefits, simply as a side benefit of utilizing IUL as your choice of savings vehicle. Now don't freak out, the fact that it's life insurance is actually a good thing. Life insurance cash value comes with a ton of unique side benefits, like your cash value being protected from market losses, cash value growing tax deferred and being accessible tax-free, protection from lawsuits, and IUL cash value is not considered in asset calculations when applying for student loans for college. So, what could one of these policies look like for your kiddo? Let's say you had a baby today, and to take maximum advantage of the power of compound interest over time, you immediately start socking away $100 per month into an IUL. Right away, your child is now covered with $371,000 of permanent life insurance coverage with living benefits. That's a pretty nice little side benefit. And that financial foundation you establish for them today will continue to grow with them over the years and be available throughout their lifetime for whatever they need or want to use it for. Plus, if they don't access that money, right around retirement, their IUL is conservatively projected to hit $1 million of cash value. And at age 65, they could turn on a tax-free income stream of $75,000 per year that will last them the rest of their lives, no matter how long they live. The point is, they have options. IUL is the most flexible savings vehicle for children on the market, and the best time to plant that seed is today.
So that is the $1 Million Baby Plan, okay? The $1 Million Baby Plan uses an indexed universal life insurance policy, okay? It's an insurance policy, which is a financial strategy designed to build generational wealth. That's absolutely my favorite video. It involves purchasing an IUL policy for a child at a young age and funding it over time to accumulate cash value. So it's compounding through the years. The goal is to create lifelong financial benefits, including tax advantage growth, a death benefit, and the ability to borrow against it, okay, against the policy for major life expenses. Like, what did it say on the video? For college, right? Possibly home ownership, okay? So it's a very powerful tool. And so how it works is, again, you purchase an IUL early on, okay? A parent, a grandparent, or a legal guardian can open an IUL policy for the child. Premiums are paid into the policy, which grows in cash value based on an indexed interest strategy, okay? An example of a strategy that they use index is the S&P 500, okay? Performance. They use that with the index will have a cap and a floor, okay? But to better understand how the index works, let us understand first how money grows, all right? So when we talk about how money grows, there are three main strategies for growing your money. You have your fixed, you have your variable, and you have the indexed. With the fixed strategy, your interest rate is locked in, okay? You know exactly how much money you will get, how much it will grow. Okay, maybe it's 1%, 2%, or 3% every year. And you know that your principal is safe and it's guaranteed. Your money will never lose value no matter what happens in the market. So some common examples of this type of account would be your savings account or your traditional CD. Sometimes credit unions give you a higher fixed return than just a regular bank. So, but it's guaranteed, it's fixed, okay? The trade-off, however, is that while your money is protected, your growth is very limited within a fixed account. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have the variable account strategy, okay? The variable accounts. This is much more unpredictable. If you see here, it goes up, down. A lot of times we talk about it and refer to it as like a Richter scale or EKG machine, all right? Because it offers great potential, so there's good growth, but it also carries a higher risk of loss, okay, when it drops, especially when the market drops. This type of strategy you'll find in 401k plans, 403 plans, and also individual stock investments. When the market performs well, your account will grow, but when the market dips, your balance can drop too. There are no guarantees here. One day, your investments may be performing great. The next day, they can really take a hit. I recently had one of my fellow sisters from church that reached out to me and said, "Hey, Gabriella, I'm ready to retire. Help me with this because I just lost 15,000." So there's no guarantees. Great potential for growth, but then your money is not protected. Now, on an index account, the one we were referring to with the Index Universal Life Insurance, an index strategy, this is where the power of both worlds comes in, okay? We want you to think of it as a middle ground. It's a balance between growth, potential, and protection. An index account mirrors the performance of a market index, like the S&P 500 that we mentioned, but your money is not directly invested in the market. That means you can participate in the upside when the market does well, okay? But you're protected from the downside when it drops. And this is the power of the $1 Million Baby Plan, where it uses the life insurance product to build on this, okay? Remember, the whole purpose of insurance is to transfer the risk. So the $1 Million Baby Plan uses life insurance. It transfers the risk from ourselves as individuals to the insurance company. So with an index strategy, the insurance company gives you a guaranteed floor of 0%, which means that even the worst case scenario, like when the market dropped 30 or 40% in 2008, 2022, your account won't lose a single penny. You may not earn interest that year, but your money stays protected. So unlike the variable account, where you could lose part of your investment, the index strategy gives you peace of mind, knowing you have no downside risk, and still you have room to grow when the market rises. So that is the 3 ways that money grows. Now, again, how the second way in which the IUL, or the $1 Million Baby Plan, works is that it builds cash value growth. So what does it mean when I say cash value growth? The cash value within the policy grows tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on the growth as it occurs, okay? It's in a strategy, it's growing compound, okay? Your child can later access this cash value tax-free through policy loans for education and home purchases, even at retirement. And my favorite is number 3, the wealth transfer and legacy. This is where we truly have the opportunity to break those generational curses that we talked about, those statistics, and replace those curses with true wealth. Through an index universal life insurance, we're not just talking about protecting life. We're talking about creating a legacy that can last for generations. As your child grows older, they can continue funding the policy and allow it to keep building cash value over time. With consistent growth, this policy can become a potential $1 million asset, just like we heard it in the video, by the time that they reach adulthood or retirement age, okay? And here's where it gets powerful. When the insured passes away, the beneficiary receives a tax-free death benefit. So imagine this. If your child eventually has a policy worth $2 million, that $2 million will go directly to the next generation, completely tax-free. Think about that impact. If that happened to my family, it would completely change the trajectory, the financial trajectory, our story, and the opportunities that will be available to the generations to come within my family, within your family. This is what true legacy building looks like. Now, it's not just about money. It's really about giving our children, that opportunity to dream bigger, to live better, and to continue passing on that legacy forward to their children's children. So when we meet and sit down with our clients, our goal is to help them build a strong financial foundation, one that can stand the test of time. And to do that, we focus on what we like to call the 4 pillars of financial strength: growth, safety, tax advantage, and protection. The first pillar is growth. We want your money to grow, not just sit there, okay, collecting dust. That means that we want to help you achieve a higher rate of return on both your short-term and your long-term investments. The Million Dollar Baby Plan is a great example of this. Over the last 20 years, these types of plans have averaged between 6% and 14% return. And remember, there's a floor, so you won't risk your growth. So the second one here that I have, sorry, got a little blurry on the screen. The second pillar is safety. Now, because growth means nothing if your money isn't protected. Through index interest strategies, your capital is guaranteed never to lose value, even when the market goes down. Okay, your money stays safe. Again, you may not earn money when the market goes down, but you never lose it. And that gives me peace of mind. And I'm pretty sure would give you peace of mind, a peace of mind that is priceless. Now, the third pillar that we talked about is a tax advantage. We've mentioned this a few times already, but it's worth repeating because taxes can eat away at your future wealth if you're not strategic. With these plans, your money grows tax deferred, meaning you're not paying taxes on the growth each year. And when structured properly, you can even access those funds tax-free, keeping more of your hard-earned money. And protection. This is the fourth pillar. This is what truly ties everything together because these plans are built on, like we heard in the video, on a life insurance chassis. They come with both death benefit and living benefit. Because our greatest asset is our ability to provide for ourselves and for our children. Living benefits are key. If something unexpected happens, whether it's a loss of life, a terminal illness, a chronic illness, critical illness, or even Alzheimer's, you can access the funds from your policy while you're still living. Those benefits can help you pay medical bills, living expenses, even caregiving costs when your family needs it the most. Life insurance has, again, like I said, it's evolved. It's not just about the death benefit. It's not about what just happens when you pass away, but it's about how it supports you while you are still here, while you're still alive. And while protection may be listed the last, we personally believe that it is the most important pillar of all. So when you shift over and you look on the screen to your right, and we start talking about the building blocks of a strong financial foundation, at the base of every strong plan, okay, should be protection. Unfortunately, remember the statistics at the beginning of our presentation. A lot of us, our households sit on debt. Debt becomes the foundation instead of the protection. Think about it, okay? Your mortgage, your student loans, your credit cards, medical bills. It's not uncommon for families to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. But I believe that protection, not debt, should be your foundation. Protection through life insurance with living benefits is smart planning. The next building block is debt management. The reality is that we do have debt, okay? But we want to control our debt before it controls us. We want to help you learn how to control your debt before it controls you. Okay. And I know that's hard sometimes, but that's why we offer complimentary financial needs analysis. So we can take a closer look at your current situation and really identify the opportunities that may be present that can help you pay off your debt faster, or make some simple adjustments to your budget that can create some breathing room. I encourage you at the end of our presentation that you reach out to the person that invited you for this financial needs analysis. Now, the next building block in every strong financial household, should be the emergency fund. We recommend that you have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses, ideally up to 12 months if possible. We really need to have this in place. Again, leaning back on those statistics, referring back to those statistics, Over 40% of the population here in the United States cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. So it's very crucial to have an emergency fund. Okay, the cushion gives you flexibility and peace of mind when life emergencies happen. I want to give an example of during the pandemic, okay, when COVID happened and many people suddenly lost their jobs. My husband personally, all the gyms were shut down. He's a basketball trainer, so he relies on renting gyms and running his program, his classes, his clinics, but he got shut down. He was shut down for a good 10 months. And because we had these 3 to 6, we actually had 12 months. We had a 12 months of emergency fund built up. We were able to get through for a good 10 months. And then we turned around and we invested in putting a basketball court in our backyard. And we got him working again, right? Because we were depleting our emergency fund and we needed to make sure that we continue to build that. But truly, families who had an emergency fund during the pandemic were able to maintain their lifestyles and keep their stress level lower because they had this in place. They had the power of preparation in place. And finally, on the top here, you're going to read investments. Once your foundation, okay, protection, debt management, and emergency savings are in place, then we look at your investments, your 401k, your 403bs, annuities, and other long-term vehicles for building wealth. Because when the base is strong, everything you build on top of that will be much more secure. And so I want to go now ahead and just kind of recap what we have covered about the $1 Million Baby Plan. Okay, this plan comes with an IUL or an Index Universal Life Insurance Vehicle that will bring you peace of mind. It has a tax advantage growth where your cash value grows without immediate taxation and is structured properly. You can withdraw, okay? You have access to flexible funds, okay? Flexible access to funds where you can take loans out tax-free for major life expenses. Again, this type of plan has market protection. Gains, they're capped, but there's also a floor to prevent any losses. And then legacy and death benefit, providing financial security for our future generations to come. I'm going to go ahead and now hand it over to Miss Marlena, who will talk about, if you already have something in place, and she's going to go ahead and give you some comparisons and some illustrations of real actual illustrations of real policies that some of our business partners have put together for their family and friends. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gabriella. Really, you've covered it all, right? With the video, you've talked about how it works, the benefits of this plan, even some basic financial education. I'm just a supporting cast member here, right? But we do have a little bit more to go over. So, like Gabriella said, right? What if you already have something for your child? How does this compare? If we just take a quick look at this chart, we already see just from the check marks how it compares, right? But if we look at a brokerage account versus a 529 plan versus this $1 Million Baby, right? The things on the left here is what we would look at when we are considering growing our money, investing for the future, right? So number one is their after-tax contribution. Yes, all three of those, check that off. So there's after-tax contribution available with all three plans. Tax-deferred growth. Some brokerage accounts do not have that. A 529 does have tax-deferred growth. And as we've talked about, so does that $1 Million Baby Plan, right? Tax-free distribution. That's a very attractive word, right? Tax-free. A brokerage account, again, it does not have tax-free distribution. You will be paying taxes when those funds are distributed. 529 plan does have it, but there are some limitations to those plans, right? All three of them have growth potential. That's why we put money into these accounts, because we want the money to grow. But after that, we see where the IUL really starts to shine, right? Number one, no market risk. We talked about that when Gabriella discussed index growth and how that works, right? That 0 galore protection. Zero is your hero. Tax-free liquidity, meaning you can access your money, and again, tax-free. So this $1 million baby plan, this IUL, is something that the wealthy have been using for over a century, right? But now it is our mission and our goal to spread this to the masses, right? Why do they only need to know this information? This is available for all of us so we can build better futures for ourselves and for our children. So having these tax advantages are huge, and this plan really has many tax advantages because it's tied into a life insurance policy. Freedom of use. Again, if you have a 529 plan, it has some great benefits, but the funds in there must be used for education. So if you have a 529 plan for your child and they choose not to go to college, to access that money again, there will be penalties and fees involved, right? So you either need to use it for another child who wants to go to college, or maybe you got to go back to school. If not, then you will be paying those penalties and fees. With an IUL, it can be used for whatever makes sense for your family, right? So if it is for education, if it's to help them buy their first home, right? If you have a daughter and you want to help pay for her wedding, whatever it is, they're not going to ask you for proof of what you spent your money on, right? And then the insurance benefits. Again, this is tied into a life insurance policy, so there is that death benefit attached to it, but there are also what are called living benefits. So as Gabriela said, life insurance has evolved over time, right? So it's no longer you have to die for your family to get money. Now they have benefits that you can use while you are living. So if you get sick, get a terminal illness, chronic or critical illness, you can utilize the funds within this plan, right? This is important to note for a $1 million baby plan, a plan for our children, because of course we don't want to think about them getting sick. We definitely don't want to think about our children dying before us, but things happen. So being able to lock in this insurance while they are young, while they are healthy, is huge. And then the last one is it does not affect financial aid. So they did touch on this in the video, but if you have a 529 plan and you want to apply for financial aid for your child, that 529 plan is going to count as an asset, right? So you may get denied because they're going to see, oh, you do have money put aside for college, and that may get the financial aid denied for your child. Whereas in a $1 million baby plan, an index universal life plan, because it is tied into life insurance, it does not show up as an asset or as income. Oh, I didn't change the screen. I thought I did. Sorry, guys. So this is just how that compares. Hopefully by now you're thinking, how can I start one of these plans for my child, right? We've talked about how it works, all of the amazing benefits, some financial concepts tied into it. The number one thing you're going to do if you're ready to start a plan like this is, one, you want to make sure you're choosing a reputable insurance company, right? So just like when we're out shopping, you're on Amazon, you're looking at ratings, you want to make sure that the company that you get a plan with has a strong financial rating, right? So with our Infinite company, all of the carriers that we work with are some even A plus rated, right? One of the top carriers that we work with has been around for over 177 years. So they have been through all the things, right? Depression, the pandemic, different presidents, and they have not lost a penny for their clients, for their clients. They have a slogan called that says never lose a penny, right? So they have protected their clients' money all throughout the years, 177 years, still going strong. So number one, reputable insurance company, we got you covered on that. Number two is you're going to select the policy holder and the insured, right? So as we've talked about, the policy holder is going to be either a parent, a grandparent, or a legal guardian. So that person will be the policy holder and the owner of the policy. And the insured is the child. And once that child becomes an adult, then the policy can be transferred over to the child as the owner. And then number three, we're going to determine the coverage and the premium. So this is where it's important to sit with a financial professional So we can do what's called your financial needs analysis, right? We are not here to just give out quotes and throw numbers at you. We want to make sure what you put in place makes sense to you and your family. It aligns with your goals and your needs and objectives. So we do a financial needs analysis to make sure that you're on track. We can see what you're making versus what you're spending, what you have left over, what your goals are for the future, and then we can help you determine the coverage and the premiums from there. Excuse me. Next would be customizing the policy features. So a lot of people are familiar with the S&P 500 as far as index strategies. We do have some other options available as well that we'll discuss with you when we are going through the illustration and the application process. There are caps and floors, as Ms. Gabriela explained, when it comes to the index growth. So you have upside potential, but you also have protection against loss. You can do loans and withdrawals. Again, that's tax-free. So you are paying taxes up front so that when you access the money on the back end, it is tax-free. And then there are optional riders available on there, including the living benefits that I mentioned. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the illustrations. And then next is just submitting the application. So again, we are with you throughout the entire process. So once you speak to whoever invited you and introduced this plan to you, they will go through the entire process with you from beginning to end. We're not going to hand you a bunch of papers or email you a form and say, please complete all of this and send it back to me. We're going to go through it step by step with you, make sure you understand the questions, and submit the application, follow up all the way until that policy is in force and ready for you. But again, because it is a child, life insurance is based on age and health. And since children are young and generally healthy, it's minimal underwriting. So it usually does not require any medical exams. And the approvals can be as quick as same day to up to a few weeks, depending on how long it takes the company to process the application. And then from there, you're going to fund and manage your policy, right? So again, these are very customizable. You'll see when we go through the illustrations, this doesn't have to be something that, even though it is a permanent plan that can cover whoever, either the child or yourself. As you saw in the chat, we have some adults that are also $1 million babies on here. So whoever is covered, it's customizable on how long you pay into the plan, right? And we can work with you and help you figure out what makes the best sense here. But for a child's plan, it's a good idea to start funding more upfront, right? So you're giving the money more time to grow, because one of the key components of building wealth is time, right? And time is definitely something children have on their side. So allowing more time for that money to grow is what makes this plan so special. Next, please. All right. So like I said, if you are a visual person like I am, and you want to see what does this really mean? It sounds like some great information, some good benefits, but let's see how it really works, right? So we wanted to show you guys some real life illustrations here. This right here is one of our business partner sons, one of our business nephews here, Mr. King David. He was 9 years old when this plan was started, but this is not his first plan, right? So you can also have multiple plans for your children. But our business partner, Ms. Kimberly Howard, started another plan for her son because, again, life insurance has evolved. And when we first learned about these plans, living benefits were not available for juveniles. So under 18 did not qualify for living benefits. So once we learned living benefits were available for our children, we all hopped on it and got more plans for our kids. Okay. So Ms. Kimberly and her husband said, you know what, we can put away another $100 for our son. By doing so, they were able to cover three very big concerns that people have, right? What if I die too soon? What if I live too long? What if I become sick, right? So this one plan can help give them peace of mind in all of those areas. If God forbid something happened to their son and he passed away, 186,386 would go to the family tax free so they can take care of his funeral expenses and have some money left behind for the family, right? If he lived a long, happy life, which is what we wish for our children, the cash value in this plan, if we take a look at age 69, this is where that $1 million baby name comes from. By age 69, he would have accumulated almost $2 million in cash value, right? Which he would be able to access tax free. And when you see how much they contributed to get to this amount, it'll blow your mind, right? By 74, it's almost to 3 million. By 84, over $5 million in his cash value, right? So like Miss Gabriella said, what difference would that make if somebody in your family set this up long ago and when they passed away, $5 million was left to your family, right? $5 million was left to the next generations. How differently would you make decisions in your life, right? How differently would you approach opportunities? How differently would you select jobs, right? We're not just picking jobs because it has the good benefits or it pays better, but you hate what you do, right? Huge difference. And that's what we are hoping to do for our children, give them just better opportunities and really allow them to fulfill their dreams. And then again, what if they become ill? So those living benefits, again, were not available to children before, and now they are. So if something were to happen to him, this is projected at age 65, right? But if he were to be diagnosed with a terminal illness, $1.5 million would be available to him to use for whatever he needed, right? It doesn't have to be for medical bills. If he wanted to travel the world, that's his bucket list. He can use that money for that. For chronic illness, if he loses two of his activities of daily living and needs assistance with that and qualifies as a chronic illness, $30,000 per month is the benefit that he can access. Here in California, for an assisted living facility, it's easily $10,000, $11,000 per month, right? So that 30,000 could help with the care and still being able to maintain whatever household expenses if there, are people left behind in the household. There's also chronic illness benefit, a critical injury benefit. Maybe let's think of like third-degree burn, something like that happens. He would have access to some money. And then Alzheimer's benefit, which is rapidly on the rise right now. 1.5 million lump sum, right? And I always tell people, I think this benefit is the most for your family, right? Because once I saw this benefit on here, it's a newer living benefit. And once I saw that it was available, I'm like, I wonder why this one? Why'd they choose this, right? So I looked it up, and there are billions of dollars in unpaid care because a lot of times when people are diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the care and the cost falls on their family because it's not something that they prepared for, right? So their loved ones are the ones that are having to take time off of their schedule to care for this person. Their loved ones are the ones who have to pay out of pocket to care for this person. And usually the person with Alzheimer's, if it's a memory thing, they're not even the ones suffering, right? So it's usually us that are going through it. So having this benefit is not just for you, right? We have a business partner who is a single man. He doesn't own a home. He doesn't have any children, but he has a plan like this because of his family. He said, I know if something happened to me and I didn't die, my family would do everything they can to take care of me, right? So he's protecting their assets, which I thought was very powerful. So this is way more than just putting something aside for a rainy day, right? This is really protecting yourself, your family, and their assets as well. Okay, so let's look at how this $100 a month works in this plan. So the parents are going to be putting $100 a month for the first 5 years. They are growing their business. They're building their careers. So after 5 years, they're going to expect to have an increase in income and they're going to add more to this policy and increase it to 200 per month for the following 5 years. And once their son hits 18, he's an adult, they're going to be teaching him, guiding him how to properly save and be financially responsible, and tell him, son, we're going to continue to put 200 a month in here, but we want you to do it as well, right? So it'll increase to 400 a month, which is 4,800 per year. Next slide, please. And if we see here, they're going to stop contributing into this plan around age 45. If you've ever met King David, he is very entrepreneurial. I doubt he'll even work up until that age, honestly. But they're thinking by 45, he'll probably be retired, doesn't want to work anymore, has built his wealth. So they're going to stop paying into this plan and just let time continue to grow the cash value in here. But if we take a look over the 37-year period, they've contributed $147,600. $147,600. If you remember in the beginning of this illustration, by 69, we were already in the millions, right? All they put in was $147,600. By age 45, that cash value, if we look to the right, where it says accumulated value, that 147 has already grown to $412,000 in cash value, which is money he can access tax-free. So they've regained all of that $147,000 back. They have a death benefit. If we look at the death benefit, it's over $800,000 that would go to the family at this point if he were to pass away, plus all of those living benefits that we talked about, right? But if he continues to live a long, healthy life, time will continue to grow his money, will continue to compound that cash value. We can go to the next slide. And that's when we start seeing, right, at age 60, it's hit $1 million, $1,090,000. By age 60, by age 70, we're at 2 million. By age 80, almost 4 million, and still that death benefit available. So if he were to pass away, all of these millions will now be available to the next generation. So this is what we mean about legacy building, about breaking generational curses, building generational wealth, right? So we're going to go over one more illustration here, right? Because maybe you're thinking, what if I don't have a baby anymore? My babies are big, they're working, they're taking care of themselves, or you are looking for something on your own, like for yourself, right? So this here is for a young adult. A young adult, I spoke to this young man. He was very aware that he needs to prepare for his future. He asked me a lot of questions about Social Security, right? So when I tell you guys this is a very customizable plan for him, I customized this to kind of mirror what Social Security is doing, right? So we saw in the first slide those statistics, it's less than 24,000 a year average that people are getting from Social Security, right? But I wanted to see what is the maximum, right? It's less than 2,000 average, but what is the maximum somebody can get from Social Security? And what I found for last year, 2025, it was $5,108 per month that somebody can get maximum from Social Security. But they had to meet certain criteria, right? They had to work at least 35 years. They had to make the maximum taxable wages, which at that point was over 176,000. And they have to wait until age 70 to collect that Social Security benefit, right? So just imagine that right there. If you're making $176,000 and the maximum you're going to get from Social Security is a little over 60,000, that's over $100,000 gap in income that you're going to have to deal with in retirement if you're not planning anything else, right? So I shared those statistics with him. I kind of mirrored that as far as how many years he pays into it and when he accesses money. But the thing here that we haven't really touched too much on is he still has that if he were to die tomorrow, there's a death benefit that goes to his family. But if we look in the if I need cash column, this says his projected monthly income from a lifetime income benefit rider. So this plan also has what's called a lifetime income benefit rider, which can give you a pension-like income, right? So very powerful because a lot of companies don't give pensions anymore. So this shows at age 70, he would get 6,579 per month for the rest of his life, right? Already more than what Social Security is giving him, but imagine now he has those two combined, right? Much better situation for him. If he waits a little bit longer, maybe he doesn't need the money right away, then that number can increase. And then as far as the living benefits, he also has all of those living benefits available to him. These numbers are projected for him at age 70 because of how it was structured for the illustration. But just be aware that these living benefits are available as soon as these policies are enforced. So if something happened, in a few months, these living benefits are already available to the insured. Okay, next slide, please. So if we look very similar, he started with a little bit more, 150 a month. We increase a little bit quicker, again, because he's older, so he doesn't have as much time, but gradually going up from 150 a month to 250 a month, 350 a month, 450, and then I kind of level him out at about 500 a month, which is the average that we see a lot of our people contributing towards their retirement plans, right? So 500 a month, 6,000 per year. And then he'll just contribute for those 35 years, just like with Social Security, right? So in 35 years, he would have put in again $181,200 and will have almost $500,000 in his cash value at that point, right? Pretty great return on investment. So again, all of his money that he's put in, he's got back and has doubled, almost tripled it, plus still has a death benefit of over 700,000 if he were to pass away, plus all of those living benefits, right? If we look at the bottom of this page, at age 70, he's going to start collecting that lifetime income benefit. And for him, it's going to be $78,948 every year for the rest of his life. So this plan will cover him all the way up to age 120. But if we just look at these first 3 years, just from the income alone, he's already collected more than he's put in, right? 236,844 in income just from the first 3 years. But if we look at these following pages again, it'll cover him, it'll pay him out for the rest of his life. So if he makes it to age 100, he'll still be getting that 78,948. There's still money in his cash value, and he still has a death benefit available to take care of his final expenses, right? If he chooses to break records and live a long, healthy life because he has no financial stress, right? He probably could make it to 120. If he makes it to that point, is that on here? I don't remember if it goes to 120. Yes. If he makes it to that point, again, that 181,000 that he contributed over that 35-year period would have paid him out $4 million and lifetime income, and he'll still have 88,000 left to leave to his family. So this is why we're so passionate about this plan, because it really can change lives, right? It really can change lives by just taking that same $100 that maybe you would put under your mattress or in a savings account that doesn't have very much interest, and instead putting it in a plan like this and allowing it to grow and provide all of these other benefits as well for your children. So hopefully you can tell, right? Gabriella's grandparents made to 92, 94, 97. My grandmother lived to 101. Her husband made it to 100. So we are hoping for long, healthy lives for ourselves and our children as well. But this is the $1 million baby plan. We really hope that it really brought a lot of value to you tonight. It is always our honor to serve. I love that, Julie. 97, right? People are living so much longer, right? So retiring at 65, you can live a whole nother 40, 50 years. But your next steps would be to get back to the person that invited you tonight, set up an appointment with them so they can help you structure a plan for yourself, for your children, whoever else you think can benefit from this. let us help you create million-dollar babies. And if there were people that popped into your mind as you're listening to this, like, this person should hear about this. Oh, they asked me, but I didn't know what to tell them before. And now you've learned about this. Invite them to this call. We do this call every Wednesday. Gabriella and I are here on the West Coast, so we do it 6:30 Pacific time. I know it's a little bit later for our Central and East Coast people, but again, we are here every week. And if they can't make the call, then connect them with the person that invited you. But we just want to say thank you for spending your Wednesday with us. We hope that you learned some valuable information. We have a couple minutes if anybody has any questions. I don't see any questions in the chat.
Thank
But
you,
yes, we hope
Marlena.
to, yes, of course. We hope to see you guys on the other side. You know, if we can help you guys make million-dollar babies, either yourself or your children, we would love to be of service. Awesome. Thank you guys. All right. I don't see any questions. So everybody have a wonderful Wednesday, and we will
Yeah.
see you on the next call.
Take care, everyone.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.